Let's talk about Just Stop Oil, if we must. Just stop it, will you? Anyway, these dorks, idiots, stormed the West End stage last night and stopped a highly anticipated performance of Shakespeare's The Tempest, starring the Hollywood actress Sigourney Weaver. Pop fact, her real name's Susan. Sigourney's a character, I think, in Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. So she took on that name. But I digress. So Susan Weaver is in the middle of her performance, and these idiots, there they are, they stormed the stage, ruined it for everyone there, unfurled an orange banner, orange paint, all of that, and then the usual virtue signalling speech about fearing for their children. So sorry to stop the show, ladies and gentlemen, but this is very important. We've got to save the planet. And of course, because it was The Tempest, they talked about the global shipwreck of the climate emergency. Very clever. Let's talk to senior fellow at the new Culture Forum, Philip Kiszely. Welcome back to the show, Philip. They're going to carry on doing this nonsense, these people. And frankly, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. They know it doesn't make any difference. We know it doesn't make any difference. Why do you think they're doing it?
Hi, Kev. It's great to talk to you again. I think there are several reasons why they're doing, none of which has anything to do with the climate. Let's just get that out of the way before we start. Okay. So in terms of CO2 emissions, Britain is responsible for 0.8% of CO2 emissions, okay? China, on the other hand, is responsible for 33%.
Has it gone up? I always thought it was 28, so 33%. So they're going up the charts. They're rising fast, China. Yep.
They're way at the top. They're the Beatles of CO2 emissions. and if these people really cared about that, they'd be going over to China and taking on the Chinese Communist Party. But what's easier, okay? Taking on the Chinese Communist Party, which isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, or pouncing around in Drury Lane. I think it's probably pouncing around at Drury Lane. So they don't care. It's nothing to do with that. What it's about them. It's about them as people. It's about, I call it performative narcissism. Okay, it's about me. Look at me. It's the climate equivalent of being non-binary. It's that kind of thing.
Exactly right. That's what it is, isn't it? I mean, that's what I'd always felt. Was this? These are. I mean, they're white. There's very few people of colour in Just Stop Oil. They tend to be white, middle class, called things like Penelope and Polly. And as for the women, that's my little joke there. But seriously, they just want to bring attention on themselves. It's about them. Aren't we wonderful? Unlike you boring little people who like to go to the theatre or have to get to work. We're going to spend our time theatrically, if I can use that word, demonstrating and telling you how much we care for children because of the future threatened by climate change. It is all about them. It's narcissism, isn't it?
Yeah, it's narcissism, and there's a cultish religious aspect to it as well. So you can track it. Okay, so these people will have loved Jeremy Corbyn. They will have been on their hands and knees. Okay, they will be, as I've already said, genderist, non-binary, trans, or whatever, interested in that kind of thing. And of course, they'll be shouting for Hamas as well. So it's a whole set of beliefs that don't have anything really to do with reason or reality. And you can't reason with someone who has a savior complex, okay? If someone's going to get on the stage and say, I'm going to save you, there's no way you're going to easily change their mind. So that's one thing. I think there's something else as well, Kevin, and I think it's also about social status. This is about high status, good old class snobbery. I'm very sophisticated. I'm very civilized. I care. I'm so well educated. I care much more than you. It's all of that kind of stuff. It's this good old-fashioned virtue signaling, but it's this awful class snobbery as well. It's looking down on people who don't care, or supposedly don't care about this fantasy of, what do we call it now? I mean, is it global boiling? Is it the climate emergency? I've forgotten. Because 50 years ago, or even less than 50 years ago, everyone was terrified that we were all going to freeze to death. You know, so this has changed very, very quickly. And I think there's one other thing as well that we need to bear in mind here. It's also about mental health. You know, you look at the look in their eyes when they do the thing. They all have this same look on their faces. It's dead look.
There's a kind of a cult mental sickness about them. I think they're all suffering from the same affliction, some kind of devotion to an idea that they completely bought into. But I think it has superseded for them the actual cause they're supposed to be campaigning about. They just do it because it's like the theatre that they... I mean, I'm saying theatre in the wide sense of the word. This is the theatre that they see themselves as the star of, isn't it?
Yeah, the activism is the end. It's all about... And of course, society is often very much to blame for this as well. They will have these luxury belief degrees. They will be kids who are very, you know, upper middle class, a lot of them. You know, they'll have gone around the world, they'll have flown around the world in aeroplanes.
Yes,
you know?
Of course.
Then they'll go on to their luxury degrees, and the degrees themselves are often about activism. So they're immersed in this on campus. They're immersed in this in their social circles. And of course, once you're in this, you got to step out of it. You know, it's all part of the cult thing, but it's all part of the social thing as well. So it's very difficult for people who are outside of it to say, look, stop this. You know, this is cultish behavior. It's not about the climate. This is about you. But unfortunately, society, a lot of the time, is, you know, responsible for doing this because we've encouraged it. You know, society, education in particular, the media has encouraged this. You speak out against it, you know, or you even question it. Okay,
you're a climate denier. Climate denier. I love it when they cut that. I'm always getting accused of being a climate denier, and I say it's very hard to deny a climate. You mean I'm a climate change denier? By the way, I don't deny climate change. It would be foolish to do this. The planet always changes. Climate always has, always will. My question about mankind destroying the planet was in terms of carbon emissions. There are a lot of carbon emissions in the days of the dinosaurs. Who was causing it then? I mean, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Before you go, Philip, I haven't got long, but I wanted to get your take on this Home Office report today that says that if you, me, or anyone else suspects that there might be this thing two-tier policing, which, by the way, there obviously is, then we are far-right extremists. Very worrying that people in the heart of government think like this about decent British citizens who fear that justice may not be colourblind in this country.
It's so shocking. It's unbelievable. I mean, when this government came into power, I thought they were going to be bad, but I had no idea they were going to be so terrible. You know, shock. And so I keep thinking back to that poor man who died in prison, Peter Lynch, for campaigning and protesting.
For his pros, he was a Southport rioter who felt he was very unfairly treated. I think some of those people really were. But of course, this is indicative of exactly what fueled this report. Don't forget, what did Keir Starmer took one look at this riot happening 200 miles north of where he was, or 300 miles, and just he didn't know what the hell was going on. Just the far-right thugs. Far-right thugs. It was a lot more complex than that. But the Home Office people and Keir Starmer, Yvette Cooper, they hate us. They hate us. They think we're Neanderthal and racist and Islamophobic, and it's very worrying.
It is. I mean, you can't... The problem is that people are so frustrated, angry and frightened, and that's a hell of a cocktail. Right? And if you shut them down and you don't allow them to express themselves and express very real concerns, they will hate you. And I've been around a long time, okay, and I've seen quite a few governments on both sides. I've never experienced the kind of loathing that's pointed at this government at the moment.
Yeah, loathing that we point at them and they point at us. That's not a good situation. I've got to go now, Philip, but we will talk again on this. Philip Kiszely from the new Culture Forum.